So my name is Eamonn Carey. I've got 10 minutes to tell you how to build a product people will love, so that's pretty easy. I'll tell you a little bit about myself and why I'm here first. So does anyone recognize this? Like one person? Okay, that's good. So this was a Sinclair Spectrum 48K, right? Some people have coffee cups with more memory than this now. This is what I learned how to write code on a very, very long time ago. I used to write games and all sorts of various different things and stayed involved in games for a long time. So built a game called Farmville. So I'm not sure if anyone here will admit to playing Farmville when it came out back in 2010, but it was an incredibly spammy and horrible experience. And so it used to kind of pollute your Facebook news feed and irritate people endlessly. So some friends and I built this game called Farmville, which allowed you to do horrible things to your friends. You could burn down their barn, you could salt the earth on their land, you could give their cows mad cow disease, as was the case in this picture. And it turned out people loved it, right? So we launched it as a bit of a joke, and you know, the song, I started a joke and the whole world laughed, the whole world was laughing. So we ended up getting to about 1 million people playing the game in a very short period of time, and it was subsequently acquired by GameStop. I now work with Techstars and a bunch of other companies. So Techstars is one of the biggest kind of accelerators in the world. So we work across Europe, the US, and expanding globally. And I sit on the board and work with a couple of other companies. So I see a lot of interesting products, and I see a lot of interesting ideas coming across my desk on an ongoing basis. So I'm just going to tell you some of the things that I've learned over the last couple of years, some of the mistakes that I've seen people make, and some of the ways that I've seen companies get people to like them. So one of the biggest things is scratching an itch that people actually have. So you'd be amazed at the number of people who come in and pitch ideas, whether it be at conferences, when they're coming to pitch for Techstars, when they're pitching me individually, where they're solving a problem that no one actually has. Right? The best pitches that we get are when people come in and go, I've been a lawyer for 25 years, this was a massive pain in my ass for 20 of those years, and I've developed a platform to allow me to solve it. Or I've figured out a solution to problem X that I experience every single day, right? So scratch itches that people actually have, and you know, everyone in this room has probably heard pitches where they're product ideas that no one actually needs. Figure out what your unfair advantage is, right? If you're going to launch that legal platform that will allow lawyers to connect with M&A professionals or whatever it is, if you're not a lawyer, if you're, you know, a 21-year-old English literature grad who's never even met a lawyer before, it's going to be very difficult for you to build and scale that product versus a team of lawyers who can maybe hire an outsourced development team to actually build it. So figure out what the unfair advantage is that you have over anyone else, because if you understand the market better than the next person, you're going to have a much better chance of addressing that market and achieving something. Right, remove friction from people's lives. How many people here use Uber or food delivery services, online to offline services? So I'm guessing quite a lot of people, right? So it's like just as easy to walk out on the street and hail a taxi as it is to book an Uber. The difference is like 1%, right? I can sit on my fat ass for 5 more minutes and watch the taxi come to me rather than walk outside and hail one. I don't go to the local restaurant, I just, you know, send them a message on my phone and my food get delivered, right? So removing tiny, tiny little bits of friction from people's lives is an incredible way to build a product that people will love. Making products that are fast is an incredible way to get people to love you and love your product, right? So pretty much everyone here, I'm sure, has used Instagram at some point in the past. When Instagram came out, there was no shortage of photo sharing apps out there, right? There was absolutely a plethora of them, and there were some that were really successful, obviously most notably Facebook, Flickr, all of the other guys. The difference that Instagram had was it was much faster, but it wasn't really actually that much faster, it just appeared to be faster. And the difference was when you took a photograph on Instagram, you started uploading basically while you were typing in the message that you were going to share. You were putting in your hashtags, you were tagging your location, you were talking about the avocado on toast that you just had. So it started uploading really, really early, and then when you actually press share, the photo appeared to go up really, really quickly. And so people thought, wow, this is way, way faster than anything else that's on the market. It was just they were uploading it in the background. So Instagram became successful for a whole variety of reasons, but one of the big ones was that it was way, way quicker than anything else. And this is important because a 1-second delay, and so probably everyone in this room has had this issue, and my wife, who's probably watching, so apologies, I can hear her swearing in the other room all the time when an app takes longer than like 2 seconds to load, right? It's like the thing is broken. And this is an issue, right? A 1-second delay in the load time of your app can significantly impact on your kind of customer satisfaction, on your conversion rates, on everything else, right? So speed in terms of app load time, speed in terms of product load time, speed in everything is really, really, really important when it comes to converting and generating sales. It can be your entire value proposition, right? Lingvist, one of the companies whose board I sit on, they're making hacking language learning, right? So they're making it way, way quicker. So now you want to learn French, it takes a very long time. Using Lingvist, it takes 200 hours. And it can be a very kind of valid value proposition as a result. Right, be very clear about what your business does. I've sat in numerous pitches where people are going, oh, I'm building a disintermediated artisanal marketplace for the MENA region. You kind of sit there going, I'm sorry, what? And they go, oh, it's like Etsy, but for the Middle East. And you go, okay, that makes sense. So be clear about what it is that your business does. What is the value that you're delivering for people? What is the difference that you're making in their daily life? What is the friction that you're removing for them? How are you making their lives easier? How are you helping them get a promotion? How are you making them look better, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Be really, really clear about what you're doing. Right, make it really easy to get started, and I'll talk a little bit more about this in a minute. This is an app called Peach, which has one of the best kind of user onboarding experiences that I've ever seen. And I'll talk a little bit more about user onboarding in just a sec, but when it comes to getting people up and running on the product that you've built, it's really important to make sure that you don't piss them off while you're getting them to load it, or you don't lose them in that kind of onboarding process. So make it really, really easy for people to get started with actually using your product, because a good onboarding experience leads to people going, oh, that was really easy to get set up with, leads to them potentially telling their friends, leads to you potentially acquiring some new users, and leads to your viral coefficient going up, which everyone wants. Make it really easy to use, right? So I'm sure some people in this room use Buffer, right, a social media tool. Buffer is really simple. It's a Chrome button, right? Chrome extensions, and I talked about this with Sam from HubSpot on the way back from dinner the other evening. Like, Chrome extensions at the moment are amazing, and I'm really excited about what you can do with them and all the kind of different myriad options that you can unlock with them. Buffer just makes it really simple to share content. You go on a page, you find something interesting, you want to share it with your Twitter audience or your LinkedIn or Facebook audience later, you just click on that button, right? Couldn't be any simpler to use. Make it really simple to understand. This is TapTalk, which is a photo sharing app out of Berlin. Very obvious what it does. You tap on the face of your friend and it sends them the photograph that's in the box, right? Really obvious what it does, really obvious how to use it. Think of Snapchat, right? What do Snapchat want you to do? They want you to take photographs and share it with your friends. What happens when you open Snapchat? It automatically opens on the camera, right? They're kind of pushing you in the direction of what they want you to do, and it's really simple for you to understand it. Give people a reason to come back to your product. So this is what it looks like when you blow up on Instagram. This is a notifications feed of a popular kind of Instagrammer, presumably quite similar to what Ross had when he tweeted about the San Francisco 49ers at Web Summit. Right, notifications can be really powerful, giving people a reason to come back. That little, circular red button with a 1 or 2 or a 48 or 2000 on it in the corner of an app screen is really powerful. Notifications and pulling people back into your product is hugely important. Right, figure out if there's a way that you can delight people. I'm going to use 4 examples from Slack. Slack is one of my favorite products out there at the moment, and again, sure many of you are familiar with it. They just do really simple little things that kind of feel like they're almost happening in the background, but are actually really, really important, right? So they have a sense of humor, right? When they tweet out things, when they do new releases, they have a really good sense of humor, right? Typing a password or remembering a multi-letter, multi-numeral, multi-symbol password on your mobile phone is really hard, right? Copying and pasting stuff is a bit of a pain in the arse. When you log into the Slack mobile app, they'll send you a link that you can click on that automatically logs you in, right? Really simple way to put a smile on people's face, make their lives fractionally easier. When you're sending direct messages to people on Slack, and I just basically looked for people who are saying love at Slack HQ or amazing at Slack HQ, et cetera, et cetera. And there's tons of these out there. You're sending a direct message to someone who's not in the same time zone as you, they tell you what time zone they're in. So you don't get pissed off when they don't reply immediately, right? And the last one is, again, a really, really simple one where they tell you to switch off notifications, right? You get loads and loads of notifications when people are posting on there, your notification stream can blow up, whatever it is. This is just a very, very simple thing that they do that makes their users like them a little bit more. And it turns out being liked is really important. And this doesn't have to be complicated, right? A lot of people use MailChimp or MailKimp. If you click the high five button on MailChimp enough times, the monkey's hand starts to turn red, right? Really stupid, really simple, but people share this, right? People talk about this stuff. If you put in the Konami code on the Brandwatch website, you get a whole bunch of different cool things happening. It can be really, really simple. Sending a tweet from within the web interface, if you're the type of person that tabs across, and those people still exist, believe me, if you tab across from where you've actually typed in your message to send a tweet, you get this little pop-up that says, actually, you can just hit Control and Enter the next time to send it, right? So just being really, really simple. Make people smile when you get to the end, when you get to inbox 0, right? That kind of promised land that people talk about. Get to Inbox Zero and Google Inbox, this is what you get. Go and enjoy your day. On Mailbox, which was an amazing mail app before it sadly died on its feet, you used to get this amazing kind of photograph of nature when you got to Inbox Zero. So make people smile. Use cultural references, right? If you listen to a piece of music from Star Wars on Spotify, the volume bar changes into a lightsaber, right? Stupid, but again, people will talk about it, people will share it with their friends, cultural references work. Don't be cheesy, right? Like this joke, I'm sorry, I had to put it in. You can be cheesy. It doesn't have to happen in your product, right? I talked about Slack's release notes, but the Medium release notes are incredible as well, right? You know, if you look at every time they update their iOS or Android app, it's an amazing place. They have a really good sense of humor. It feels like a human being, right? GitHub, if you go to their 404 page, and maybe you're spotting a pattern here, right? I'm of a certain age and a fan of a certain type of movie. There is no choice. So this is their 404 page, really, really simple. Some quick ones, talk to your customers, right? Don't ignore them. They've downloaded their app, they're giving you money, they're doing kind of things that you want them to do, so talk to them. Don't be annoying. Don't use mail merge. Don't kind of screw things up really, really badly. Be nice to people, right? So SendGrid, which is a Techstars company, really successful Techstars company, probably has the most free marketing of any company I know because they do the best hoodies. So you see people wandering around London all the time wearing SendGrid hoodies, right? So they're just being nice to people, sending them high quality hoodies, and they're getting free advertising out of it, right? So be nice to people. Be human. So with Jawbone, if you complain about them or if you kind of get in touch with them or say nice things, they'll send you personalized notes, right? Which is really important. When you fuck up, and you will, right? This will happen. This is what a company called Sorry is a Service that I work with does. So they send you out like home-baked cookies, they send you a bunch of flowers, they apologize to you on behalf of the company that's transgressed. And why? Because it's really important to retain your users. Right? Twitter had a huge problem with user retention and still does. But it is really, really important to retain your users because an increase in retention can mean a massive, massive increase in your profitability. And it's far easier to sell to someone who's already bought into using your product than it is to try and acquire a new user. And don't be afraid to change, right, based on the feedback that you get. I mean, how many people remember an app called Bourbon, or how many people have ever used it? Right? Bourbon was a location-based app in the same time as Foursquare and Gowalla and many, many others. And it pivoted famously into an app called Instagram because they were like, oh, well, no one is using this, but the filters thing is kind of interesting. And so they turned it into Instagram, and 13 months later, they were billionaires. So don't be afraid to change. See who's doing things well. I talked about user onboarding. This is one of the best websites in the world if you're building a product. This does a teardown of basically every new product that comes out, every big, interesting product that's out there. Useronboarding.com, one of my favorite websites. Get human beings to try your product. Usertesting.com is another incredible website where you can get actual real-life human beings, or civilians, as some people call them rather uncharitably, to take a look at it. If you don't have any money in your pre-revenue, you can use peak.usertesting.com. You can get someone to use your product for 5 minutes. You get a video of them using your product. You can see them looking confused. You can see where it's working, where it's not working. If you want to get experts to use it, this is a great new company that launched recently called opentest.co. So they've got product managers from Facebook, Slack, from all over the place who will go on, make a video of themselves using your product, give you some suggestions on how to make it better, how to improve it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And why? This is what your users do when you present them with your product, right? If you don't guide them down a path, if you don't tell them what they're supposed to do, right, they won't use it properly. And this is an issue, right? I mean, I see this pretty much, not literally this, although I do see this GIF almost every day as well. But this is what your users will do. The last and most important thing of all is don't be a dick, right? Don't do really unpleasant things to your users. Don't be spammy. Don't harvest their emails. People may remember an app called Path a couple of years ago. Path, if you gave it access to your address book, would then text everyone in your address book with a kind of vague message that sounded like you'd gone missing. And so you had all these people who were sending messages to their grannies going, oh, I really need to get in touch with you about these pictures. And it was a link to kind of download Path, and people's grannies were upset. So don't upset people's grannies, right? It's really important not to do that. And don't be a dick. That's all from me. This is me on Twitter. This is my email address. Thanks to Barak and all the team for having me here. I've got a special place in my heart for Turkey because Startup Istanbul is where my new company came from. And you can probably guess what the URL for that new company is based on the bottom there. But thanks very much for listening, and come talk to me if you've got any questions after.